Hi, I'm Amy Cribbs from Dalton State College School of Education, and I'm going to be taking a few minutes to run through my suggestions for how to do a literature search using Galileo. Some of the tips and tricks I'm going to give you are a little bit unconventional, to be honest, but I think they might help simplify what can sometimes be a little bit of a difficult task. I will be honest and say that this is something I've always struggled with over the years, especially when I'm going in to do research on a topic and I'm just starting. I tend to run a search and get thousands and thousands of articles, so I wanted to try to give you some tips for narrowing things down. And my first piece of advice is to do some work on the front end before you even start going in to Galileo and try to come up with some ideas for good search terms. Part of having a successful search is having a lot of options for searching and narrowing things down. So one place that I always recommend people start is by a little bit simpler type of search. And one place you can look if you're just totally looking for ideas, educationweek.org is always a great website for ideas for education papers. Just like the name suggests, it's a weekly newspaper about education topics, and you'll see there's articles on all different kinds of topics that can give you some ideas. You can even get some ideas by searching here, putting in some search terms and getting ideas for terms, looking at their articles. I usually count these as peer-reviewed. Some professors might not count Education Week articles as peer-reviewed. They're not a journal article, but it is produced by professionals. Another idea, this is the piece that's a little bit more unconventional, is I sometimes just do a regular old Google search. Now, I want to make clear that the object of doing this isn't to actually find an article, but to find ideas for what to look for. And so I find it easier to do something like that in Google. You can do Google Scholar. I, again, am not the best at Google Scholar and typically don't find articles there, so I usually just do this. So I've already typed in teacher accountability into the search bar. And so what I want to do is start by walking through and showing you how you can use this kind of search to get ideas for other things to add besides just teacher accountability when you go into Galileo. So a good thing to look at, it says people also ask. That gives you some other ideas. So we might want to look into accountability systems in education. Teacher accountability is what we just said. Responsibilities and accountability. Then we see some different articles. One of them is an Ed Week article, so I might want to check that out, but I'm not going to do that now because I want to show you Galileo. But I've already previewed this. But, you know, if I see a pretty interesting looking article or publication, I might look on that to get some more ideas, but before I click on one, I see right here, accountability essentials, identifying and measuring teaching. So measuring is a word I might want to include in my search. And then this brings me to a chapter in a book. And then I can again just kind of scan to get some ideas about what I might want to look into. Like here, it talks about Title I. I might want to look into Title I. And I did notice when I was previewing this before the video that it says previous adequate yearly progress. I know I'm familiar with it, so that's a term that used to be related to accountability, so that's something I might want to use. So if you're starting from scratch, this is the first step. Just do a simple search and take some notes about some ideas you get. So now we'll go to Dalton State, and I'll walk you through doing the search on Galileo. So when you go to the Dalton State website, of course you want to go to the library and Galileo. The first thing that'll pop up is just a very general search. That's going to give you all kinds of stuff, books. It's really not going to limit anything. limiting your search is actually the key to making it more successful. So if you go down here to advanced search, I'm going to walk you through how to take advantage of those options. So you can do, just like in a good old-fashioned card catalog, you can do different kinds of searches. You can search by author, by title, by subject, or even the title of the journal. I would just start with something general up here, but before I even search, I'm going to limit my search by scrolling down through the search options. I am part of the School of Education, so I'm going to assume you're doing education research. You would check that. I am going to leave the modes and expanders the way they are. This is probably the most important part for limiting right here. I'm going to check full text. That means it's only going to show me things that I can download right then and there, that I don't have to get interlibrary loan or anything like that. Depending on what your professor is requiring, it's likely that you'll need to check this box, scholarly peer-reviewed journals. That's often a requirement. Now, this other information you could use if you're looking for a specific journal, but at this point, I'm not narrowing it down quite that much. Whoops, didn't mean to do that because I was wanting to do the date and somehow... Oh, okay, the date moved from last time I did it. So if you look over here, it says published date. When we're talking about contemporary articles, we typically ask that you not go back any further than 10 years. So I'm going to put in 2010 so that I get articles that are contemporary and up to date. Now, the only difference would be if you are doing a paper on theory. If you're talking about an actual theory, you can go back to the original writing and the date doesn't matter. So, need to put in a search. So we said we're going to do teacher. And one thing, sometimes things will automatically pop up, so that's something to consider if you're trying to narrow things down. Okay, so as you see here, I have about 50,000 articles. So that's a lot to go through. But what we can do is scroll through these, see if any of them are what you're kind of looking for. Another thing to look for, sometimes the articles end up being from countries outside of the United States, and in that, I'm not saying that you should discount those, but you might want to focus on ones from the United States, because see, like here's a Norwegian one. But remember how we had that thing pop up where it said teacher accountability and student performance? Still get a ton, but that will give us a little bit different approach. And I think personally, I might want to look at this, the politics of education and teacher support for high stakes teacher accountability policies, because that's what I'm really interested in is what rules are being set for teacher accountability. So seeing this, I might now go back up and say, rolling the dice. I haven't practiced this. So that narrowed it down a little. That's still 12,000. So that gets it down. Maybe I could even see if it changes it to do high stakes testing and teacher accountability. Wow, even further down to 8,000. So see how I keep getting it narrowed down a little bit. And what I'm looking for here is where right here I could download that right from here. So if you're not able to see what the article is about, abstract down here, see if it's hitting the topic that you are interested in. It's also going to give you keywords, so those might give you some ideas of other things to pursue if you're looking. And a couple things to think of while you are doing a search. What you'll probably find out, probably further into your research, is that certain authors keep appearing over and over related to a certain topic. What usually happens is a professor has a certain focus with their research and publishes lots of articles on it. So once you know the author or authors who are experts in that field, you can do author searches. So you could put their name and put that in here and do an author search. Another thing is that once you checked out a few articles, you might get an idea of journals that publish articles related to your topic. So then you could put in and just search a journal and then go through their articles, and they will usually have pretty subject specific, the journal's subject specific, so you should be able to find stuff that's similar in topic. Another option is just to go with whatever your class resources are. If you're using a text, or maybe you looked at an article in class, look at their resources. Those might give you some ideas, and then you could plug those names in here to find the actual article. So those are some suggestions. My main advice is to just keep trying things out, to come into a search with some ideas, and to start out by limiting it by date, by type, so that you're not getting thousands upon thousands to go through. So good luck. Hang in there.